Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to today's roundtable, AI and Workforce Development, Shaping the Future of Learning in Central America and the Dominican Republic. Bienvenidos a todos a nuestra mesa redonda de hoy. This program is part of our Digital and Data Governance series, which seeks to discuss how emerging technologies can be responsibly incorporated into government, business, and society in the Americas to leverage the benefits while proactively minimizing potential risks. I want to thank our partners in this series, Apple, Portafolio Inmobiliario, and Salesforce, and a special note of gratitude to Portafolio Inmobiliario for leading this particular roundtable. Today, we are continuing the conversation on artificial intelligence in Latin America. This afternoon, we will dive into how AI can be incorporated into education and workforce development in Central America and the DR. Generative AI is the most significant industrial revolution of our era, transforming our world at an unprecedented pace. Experts agree that adopting AI is a necessity, and we must take the initiative today to implement it across all value chains, starting with the education of our future workforce, and I would add the current workforce. The crucial question before us is how we can leverage AI to enhance economic productivity in Central America and the DR while ensuring that nobody is left behind socially and economically. We must embrace this challenge with curiosity and confidence and not fear. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from a distinguished group of experts from both the public and private sectors who are at the forefront of these groundbreaking ideas. And we have humans joining us from all over the region: Costa Rica, El Salvador, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Panama. So let's dive into this exciting journey together and chart a path forward to advance the AI agenda in Central America and the DR. And before we start this conversation, I want to introduce John Keith, President of Portafolio Inmobiliario, for some welcoming remarks. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Randy. Good morning, all. Thank you for participating in this roundtable. I think we have big challenges in terms of education over the next generation. And for me, the conversation should start by setting new goals of what education should be. And my contribution to that discussion is very simple. I have 4 goals that you should all consider at the end of the conversation. What should make a good student? And my 4 criteria are the following. We need to teach people how to ask the right questions. That's critical in this AI revolution. The second one that we miss a lot is we need to help the students identify their superpower, because that superpower is the one that AI can multiply many times over. And right now, we're very bad at helping the students identify their superpowers. The third one is teaching them how to imagine a version of the future. They don't have to be right. They don't have to get it 100%, but just to imagine a version of the future. I think it's one of the criteria of excellent education. And the last one is commitment and grit. It's very easy to quit in this time and age. And I think some lessons from hard work and overcoming difficult times is a must in a new educational agenda. So that's my little contribution to this discussion today. And let's hear from the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. It's always easy to be able to have only four things that we're going to remember. So I think this is a fabulous challenge. And thank you again. It's always an absolute pleasure to work with you and Ellen. And so to start this exciting roundtable, I want to give a special welcome and introduce our first speakers. Ineke Geesink, Country Manager of Microsoft Central Costa Rica. Alejandro Anderlic, Head of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Latin America at Salesforce, and García Periche, President of GENIA. And so we're going to have 2, maybe 3 rounds of questions, and I'd like to limit your answers to 3 minutes. I'm sure you can do that. So the first question for all of you is, how do you see the current landscape of AI tech adoption for education and workforce development in Central America and the DR? And can you share some success stories and challenges that the region faces? So Ineke, over to you first, since you're in Costa Rica.
Thank you very much, Randy. It's an honor to be here, and looking forward to learn through this panel with such luxury of speakers and participants. So definitely, as you mentioned, you know, the technological landscape is truly evolving fastly, and the intersection of AI with education is not just about the future. It's actually imminent right now, and we are already evidencing how students are really embracing AI through their daily tasks, through their daily habits, understanding how to master the prompting, right? As Mr. Keith said, the landscape today is not only about the answers, but asking the right questions. We also see it as an opportunity for students to receive much more personalized support. It's an opportunity for inclusive learning, to build stronger connections with teachers, and of course, for a more personalized guidance. As you well mentioned, Randy, with the promise of AI being so compelling in education, it's only through our responsible adoption of AI that we will see its true capacity, right? And by that, I mean ensuring that we do it in a responsible, in a secure, in a fair and inclusive way for all. And moving into specifics for our region in Central America and Dominican Republic, you know, I would say the overall AI adoption is a promising field. We did commission a study back in December from Microsoft Costa Rica, in Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic. And I'll share some of the outcome of these in terms of percentages of adoption, but one that really called out my mind was that, and this is general, not only to education, but 70% of small businesses in Costa Rica and the Dominican Republic are ensuring that they will invest in AI in the upcoming year. 74% of them said they already had established one area of AI, be it through a chat bot, be it through enabling ChatGPT or other AI technologies. And 73% said that they really agree to how AI will enhance the productivity of their employees. So we're seeing a real strong transformative era in AI in the region. And one of the other things I'd like to call out is how we need to strengthen together as an industry through alliances in private sector, government, and academia in supporting AI and digital literacy, right? This is going to be key to ensure the proper future. And it's similar to what Mr. Keith said in terms of those superpowers that we need our students to prioritize, and how they can improve critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, and really be embracing a learner mindset. So we really want to focus on being part of that journey in our region to secure that our current students and future professionals are really embracing this in the right way. So again, challenges are around ensuring that we adopt AI in the most responsible way, but the future is very promising, and the region right now is embracing this with a very strong empathy and learner mindset.
Thank you, Ineke. Ale, how would you answer this question?
Thank you, Randy. Great to be here. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. Well, I would like to take you guys back to those days of the COVID pandemic. And at that times, we actually experienced how technology was an enabler for us to be able not only to communicate better, but to learn better. So at this point, and to address this topic, I would start by echoing the voice of this Latin American patriot, Domingo Faustino Sarmiento, who said that every problem a society would have has to do with education. So based on the learnings of the pandemic, I would suggest trying to see how we can move forward and make sure that technology and AI in particular can be used as a tool to enhance our humanity and continue enhancing our learning curve throughout our societies. Overcome this challenge that technology would be accessible to everyone, because in the times of the pandemic, we were able to succeed, but probably not everyone could. And I believe that we are still owing that to a lot of people throughout the region. And then how can we do to enable students and people in general to just not be users of technology, but also creators of technology. And let me tell you one more thing. I don't think that technology is going to solve our problems. It's a matter of how we can embrace technology as we embrace humanity. We need to turn our curriculums upside down. We need to learn the mindset of both students and teachers to get everyone ready, not only the new generations, but as you said, Randy, the current generations ready to tackle the challenges that this new world is posing to all of us. So starting from bringing STEM into the curriculum of all educational institutions from the very elementary levels, to bringing technology into the classes, so that technology and AI in particular may be a tool to enhance the learning curve. That to me would be the path to take. And on success cases, I can tell that in Central America, we've been experiencing a very interesting project where we, in partnership with the government and with partners of our ecosystem, have trained, first of all, given visibility of the opportunities within the industry, trained citizens in our technology, and then helping them get into our ecosystem. I believe, and we can expand on that later, I believe if we could create those virtuous circles where we would go 360 and all the way through, that way we'll be able to give our, a little contribution to tackling this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jean, Dominican Republic, what are you doing and how would you answer this big question in 3 minutes?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to completely agree with both of the speakers in the opportunities and the challenges in terms of Latin America, which very much aligned. This topic of artificial intelligence is definitely, in my opinion, the most important discussion of our times, even of our species, if you take the historical importance of what it means creating technology with cognitive capabilities like communications, like we're seeing with generative AI, and those cognitive tasks that we are now extrapolating to the machines as our prosthesis, cognitive prosthesis to us, definitely has a transversal effect on education. So this topic of artificial intelligence is definitely complex. And when we talk about complexity, we usually mean that it is multidimensional. So we cannot tackle, or it is a multifaceted issue. So this topic of AI and education, the complexity, I always like to focus on two different dimensions. There is the dimension of AI, like the application of artificial intelligence to education, and how the process of education involves in the creation of artificial intelligence. Ale was mentioning that it's not only about using artificial intelligence, but actually developing artificial intelligence. And that's very much the mission that we at GENIA promote in Latin America. We have the mission of including Latin America into the global development of AI. And we are working with the SICA countries and the SICA institution, the Sistema de Integración Centroamericana, to create a regional ecosystem in Central America. In terms of the first dimension, how do we use AI for education? It is all well known that the impact of artificial intelligence in education is more towards personalized education, how AI can learn from students to personalize the content. And we've seen already that although our education systems and our schools and even our teachers have not yet caught up with artificial intelligence, students are already using different AI systems, language models, video, image generation. Generative AI has really signified this transition from AI being a topic of the future to AI being a topic of now, mainstream. And in terms of the second dimension, how do we not only apply artificial intelligence to education, but how do we educate for artificial intelligence in the sense of teaching technical skills for people? We at GENIA are working precisely with SICA in a Latin American AI Academy, or Academia Latinoamericana de Inteligencia Artificial, in which we are already working with 2 different governments in Central America, Dominican Republic and Honduras, to train. The first cohort will be 1,000 talents, human talents, 500 in DR, 500 in Honduras, but we have the mission of scaling this to all of Central America, and that's why we are working to build our regional AI ecosystem. We can dig later into the details, but that's the first overview of AI and education in Central America.
Ineke, in your experience and from the point of view of Microsoft, how are you adopting AI to enhance productivity while promoting human interaction and creativity? And how are these practices being implemented specifically in Costa Rica and Central America?
Yes, thank you, Randy. So as you know, in our Torre Universal site, we have the biggest office in Latin America. We're 1,600 employees, and 100% of employees have adoption of CoPilot, which is our generative AI tool. We are customer zero for Microsoft. That means that we bring the challenges, the feedback, the good and the best. And we've had an amazing impact in terms of productivity, unleashing creativity, and at the end, while making our team more productive, enabling time for important tasks or for a more healthy work-life balance, right? So some of the results we've actually come to see is 70% of the team is confirming they have strengthened their productivity. 68% say that they have jumpstart more, like a stronger jumpstart on creative processes. In terms of coding, for example, we also see that it has enabled 55% faster coding for our developers here. We've also done a strong focus. A lot of our operation here is a sales operation. Which actually is very interesting, because back when we started, it was quite new, but it's a AI propensity-based selling under a digital model that we have a lot of our team working here. So when we saw the opportunities of how to inject AI into our processes, we definitely saw CoPilot being a hero here. And we had a CoPilot for Sales in use since back in November, and we've seen double-digit growth in terms of customer satisfaction, in terms of customer engagement, in terms of the average time that the employees are saving. It's an average of 90 minutes per day by just using this. So we've really seen some strong gains. Again, we are customer zero to our CoPilot, so it's been quite an interesting and energizing experience for all.
Well, thank you very much. That's great to hear. And I know we all have CoPilot, and we have somebody that we know who's at Microsoft who says, I asked CoPilot to make the emails friendlier and warmer because he has a propensity to be, very, very, very directed. And so I want to welcome La Ministra Paula Bogantes. She has joined us. We are going to continue the panel until 12:30 and then have Dr. Ellen Rose interview her. So Ale, as these technologies develop, how can the industry make sure to maximize the benefits AI, in this case, for education and workforce development, while ensuring ethical standards and inclusivity, because we don't want anybody running around claiming that they're Randy Melzi in New York when I'm in Sao Paulo.
Thank you, Randy. So I believe the private sector has a really amazing opportunity to become relevant in this play. And three ideas I'd like to share with you. First of all, someone in the panel told us that, and this is true, that students know how to use AI. They are fluent in the use of this tool. But let me tell you, are they using it the right way? One of the amazing opportunities that we in the private sector have, and that's probably even more true for technology companies who would have like a stronger moral duty to do so. We have to advocate with students and with the community in general for a trustworthy, ethical, responsible, and inclusive use of technology. We need to help, and this is a discussion that will involve all sectors, but the private sector can play a relevant contribution. We should help everyone make sure that technology is really used for good. Here I would praise the efforts that governments like the one in Chile, Minister Echeverri, is doing to try to promote this responsible use of technology in education and all throughout the country. Second thing the private sector can do, the private sector can convene all the relevant key stakeholders so that instead of speaking and playing in silos, we act together now and tackle this very significant challenge. First of all, by giving visibility to citizens in Central America and in general of the amazing opportunities that currently exist to become an actual player in the digital economy. There are thousands of open jobs in the industry, and thousands and millions more will arise, and those could be served from Central America virtually to the entire world. So first of all, giving visibility, the private sector as a whole, together with the public sector, with social society, with civil society, and with the academia, giving visibility, then giving possibilities to the citizens to be trained in the respective technology of each of the companies have to offer. We have our own technology and can train thousands of people. Microsoft can do the same. All tech companies can do the same. So why not get together with governments to promote this massive training at scale. And once the citizens are trained, go with the last mile, which would be to help them land a job within the ecosystems that require these seats to be filled. Because sometimes it is not enough to just go with digital literacy, but then with the tools learned, it is paramount that we from the private sector also help the trained resources to land a job or work as an entrepreneur in our respective ecosystems. And to finish, Randy, you mentioned diversity. And I believe that we should pay special attention on giving opportunities of this nature, of training, reskilling, and employment of all diverse type of communities. We talk a lot about giving opportunities to women, and that is great. But it's not only about women, it is also about silver citizens or people within underrepresented communities and the like. So we should have to be able to build programs for all type of realities so that this goes massive at scale, but for everyone. Thank you.
Very exciting, Ale. So, John, you're helping the DR government develop its AI strategy. How can policymakers facilitate collaboration and partnerships between educational institutions and industry and government so that all these jobs that are out there can be filled? What is your view? What are you doing?
Thank you. So in terms of the practical implementation, we were part of the creation of the AI strategy, but it is already launched. So we are now in the stage of implementing the strategy. And precisely when you speak about the stakeholder, we need to talk about the ecosystem. So like our role in GENIA is ecosystem building. So we are working with the government of Dominican Republic in this project called LATAM 4.0, or Latin America and the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is now the first regional project, because now Honduras also joined, and we're working with SIGA, as I mentioned in the previous question, which is already 8 countries, and it will be to create a regional AI ecosystem in Central America. So how do we actually get from theory to practice? So this project consists on the implementation of a network of AI hubs that we call Yo Soy Futuro. What is an AI hub? It is a conglomeration that we call a coalition of different actors from different, like academia, private sector, civil society, and government around concrete AI projects. So we base this implementation on 4 different pillars: data, smart government, human talent, and industry. So on each of these pillars, we have different projects, and each of the projects, we work with the local stakeholders, with the universities, with startups, obviously with the government. So in terms of the human talent pillar, which is the one we're talking today about education, as I mentioned, the Latin American AI Academy, it consists on 3 different blocks. It's a whole program of 11 months. The first block is for balancing. So teaching people the basics, the fundamentals, programming, mathematics, and AI fundamentals, which is 3 months of balancing. Then 4 months of all the scientific aspects of machine learning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, computer vision, the whole scientific part. And then 4 months that we call incubator, or the practical aspects, for 4 months of project development that we are already starting to work with the private sector. So the students in the academy start solving and creative solutions for the private sector. So that is the whole idea of creating a regional ecosystem, which is basically working with the stakeholders on concrete projects through this network of AI hubs we call Yo Soy Futuro.
We have covered the practical, and we have covered the theoretical, and we have covered the human. And so I would like to thank you, Ineke, Alejandro, and Jean. I think we can continue for a long time, but we know that your time is very valuable. This was absolutely fantastic. And now I would like to introduce Paula Bogantes, Minister of Science, Innovation, Technology, and Communications of Costa Rica, and Dr. Ellen Rose, Executive Director of Texas Tech University. It is an honor to have you with us today, Minister Bogantes. Ellen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Randy. It's so good to see you, Minister. I don't get to see you enough because you're so busy with all these initiatives, which is actually wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor for me to share, be part of this very interesting discussion on AI.
Great. And so we'll sort of jump in where the last panelist, Jean, left off. So I understand that the country is in the process of developing a national strategy for regulation of artificial intelligence. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and also tell us how it's progressing?
Yes, thank you so much. So indeed, we are in the process of putting together, we call it GENIA, the Estrategia Nacional de Inteligencia Artificial, so National Strategy for AI. And why we're doing this? Because every country has to, right? It is a new technology. It's here to change the world. It comes with a great number of benefits, but it also comes with a great number of challenges. And from a government point of view, it is our responsibility to make sure that we not only make the best usage of AI, that we utilize AI in a number of different fields. The previous speakers mentioned a number of those, but also that we set the rules as much as we can. And why do I say this? Because as we all know, AI is currently being developed. How do you regulate something that is in the process of being developed, right? Of improving itself, but we have to do it. So we are almost done with it. We are trying to publish, not only publish the strategy, but also to commit ourselves, the government, to make sure that every institution includes a component of AI, a technical solution that includes AI, to make sure that services are provided in a faster way, that internal processes are done or handled more efficiently. You know, all the benefits that AI has, we want to make sure that we, from a government point of view, that we utilize the technology to make sure that we're more efficient, more transparent, better services to the citizens, etc.
Okay, that's great. Now, are there countries that you're looking to and how they're managing AI? And how could those sort of casos de éxito be incorporated in Costa Rica?
Absolutely, we have to. We would be foolish if we didn't, right? And the reason being is for many reasons, but one being, we're not leaders in AI, nor do we will be leaders in research and development of AI. We will be, however, countries, well, part of the countries that will implement AI. And in the implementation, we can certainly bring a lot of innovation. But it's actually not the governments, with a couple of few exceptions, but it is the private industry, the one that is leading the way on AI development. So that's absolutely great. And we have to make sure that we enhance public-private collaboration. That has to be one of the key topics that we, from a government point of view, we focus on. But of course, we're looking at a number of different countries. The EU, for example, and the AI Act. We have analyzed the AI Act. What do they include? They are focused more on risk analysis. That's absolutely great. We have to look at their approach, you know, but we're also looking at what the United States is doing. Most of the companies that are leading the AI development are located in the US. So we have to look at them too. And other countries such as Chile. Chile was mentioned. Peru recently approved an AI bill. So, you know, I always like to use this term, and that is that we have to tropicalize what we'll see in other regions of the world. We don't have to invent the wheel. Chile is already moving ahead in a number of different things on AI, and it is absolutely great. And we, other than us inventing the wheel, it is easier for us to tropicalize something that is already implemented in a Latin American country, right? And bring it to Costa Rica's reality. So we're doing that. I would also like to point out that I've seen, since I started with MISID, that there's great collaboration in different technological topics within Latin America. Cybersecurity is one. We have a group of countries that we are constantly in communication about cybersecurity. AI is another one. We want to enhance that collaboration among Latin American countries. Because as I said, AI, well, I'm not, you know, it's not me saying it. It's experts of the industry saying it. AI can definitely bring benefits, but one thing that we have to make sure is that we use it so we reduce the digital gap. So we reduce that gap between developing countries that will use AI and mid-economy countries. I'm going to say that the gap can increase if we don't utilize what technology can provide to us to move forward, to be more efficient. So certainly, we're making sure we're looking at other examples. We're looking at different approaches from different countries, data governance, cybersecurity, AI implementation, risks associated. I'll give you an example. We're trying to implement or utilize AI within the healthcare industry. So we sat down and said, where should we look at the risk? Should it be something such as countries like the European Union already approved this technology for a specific treatment or specific disease or whatever that may be? Should we use their already approved process and give more attention to the implementation of that technology in Costa Rica with the specific characteristics of Costa Ricans? Should we otherwise look at it before we implement it in Costa Rica? Should we see what the FDA said about it? Those are some of the considerations we are sitting down and analyzing when talking about AI.
So let's talk about citizens right now. So we know that, and Ineke talked about the rise in productivity in Microsoft, which is nuts. 90 minutes a day. I need 90 minutes a day. I think you do too. So we've got to look at CoPilot for sure. That's the best advertisement for CoPilot I've ever heard. But it can also be a source of fear. So thinking in terms of education, how do we talk to students and teachers, especially, and individuals who work in schools so that they can adopt AI in a way that they can understand it, so it's ethical, it's productive, but that it's not a scary barrier?
That's a very good question. And I would say it certainly applies to AI, but it definitely applies to technology in general, right? And the resistance of humans to change. We get into this comfort zone of doing things one way, and when we're asked to include something new, and I'm going to say technology, or in this case, AI, we see resistance. So we are expecting resistance. We should all expect resistance, right? And unfortunately, humans are, or fortunately, I don't know, humans are, in order for us to convince ourselves of something, we kind of have to walk the path, right? Most humans are that way. I include myself in that group. So, here it's communication is key. And I'm going to say it's using examples of what has been done in other countries makes our job easier, right? Don't believe me. It's not Paula Bogantes saying that. These are examples of Microsoft, to use Microsoft example, of a company that they've seen the benefit in and you give it data and you give it percentage. I'm a very number-driven person. And these are the benefits that AI is bringing. Education is key. We launched recently a program that what it does is teaches English it will be virtually teach English to a number of schools in the country, right? And I always tell my colleagues, today we're using human teachers. Sooner rather than later, we will replace those teachers with avatars. And the benefits of that, we're going to be able to include not 30 schools, but 100, 200, 300, because it's an avatar. So those are the examples. Of course, if you're a teacher, then you say, well, I'm going to lose my job. So, there's controversy. It would always be controversy when talking about technology. You're right. So AI, sure. There's also people losing jobs. And in this case, we're talking about the higher ladder jobs, not so much the, automation that was replacing repetitive tasks. Here we're talking software engineers, programmers, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I think communication is key. I'm going to say that one of the things that we need to leverage from is, you said students, the newer generations are much more comfortable and much more used to the term of AI. If you talk to someone, a young kid, and I'm going to give you an example of something that happened with my daughter, but if you talk to a young person, the AI is not as scary as if you talk with someone older, my generation and older generations, right? We get much scared. We don't imagine, we never in our wildest dream did we ever imagine that we were going to share space with this intelligent system, right? That according to experts, soon rather than later will be even smarter than us. So I'll give you an example. We work with Inmobiliario on a video of a famous person giving kudos to Misid, right? So it's a deep fake, and we did the whole thing, and it was kind of a fun experience. I showed it to a colleague of mine, same age as mine, and he believed us. And he was like, oh my God, how did you manage to get this person to say that about Misid? And we started laughing. I showed it to my daughter, and my daughter looked at me. The video wasn't even done, and she looked at me and she said, that's AI, right, Mom? So that shows you the difference in the term, us getting used to AI, us getting used to the benefits of AI. And we have to make sure that those newer generations help us make that change, incorporate AI in our daily lives without having so much fear. It is also a part of our responsibilities also to make sure of a smart usage of AI. We have to understand that, for example, one of the biggest concerns of the World Economic Forum for the upcoming years is misinformation driven by AI. So we have to make sure that Costa Ricans, again, not Costa Rican, humans know of the benefits of AI, that we utilize AI, but also that we're careful when using this technology. As I said, especially because we are still discovering the potential of AI.
Absolutely. You and I talk about our kids a lot, and we're contemporaries age-wise. And I don't know if we ever discuss this, but I've heard others say that it will be normal for our children to have AI friends. I guess it'll be normal for our children to have AI teachers. I mean, for me, I can't even imagine that. And you're mentioning that that we'll have avatar teachers. It tells me that this is something that the government is actually looking into and really thinking about. So is this something that you're starting to do work on, or is that still really in the offing?
No, right now we're using what we have. And what we have, what the system, if you will, is providing us is teachers, human teachers, right? And we're gonna make sure, because the ultimate goal is for Costa Ricans to have the access of learning English in a somewhat easy way, right? Or facilitate that for them. That's why we're using technology and making sure that rather than having a teacher physically move to a school, to just connect, and that makes it easier. But it would be foolish for us to think that that's gonna be the case in the future, right? We have to be honest with ourselves. And again, AI is going to bring a lot of benefits. And one of the industries where we're gonna see great benefit is education, right? So who's to say that maybe we're gonna start by having a human teacher and having an avatar as his or her assistant. But eventually, who's to say that that teacher is going to be replaced by an avatar? So again, we have to sit down and as I said, we have to be honest with what the technology is bringing us. And in order for us to prepare as to what do we need to do then? Right? When can we potentially see that happening? And then prepare for that. Prepare the teachers. As I said, AI is coming here to replace not only the repetitive tasks like automation did, but software developers. Then countries, let's sit down, let's have a discussion. Where should we focus in our skills, human skills on? What career should we be thinking on? How can we complement? How can AI come and complement our daily tasks, our professions, our challenges, etc.?
Great. Let's switch gears for a second and maybe talk about one of your other passion projects, El Centro de Excelencia. Could you tell everybody who's listening a little bit about this project that we're working on with APEP in Costa Rica and where we are today with that?
Right. So the Center of Excellence is, I'm going to say the objective for that is to develop talent and to enhance innovation. And how can we do that? With the collaboration of other governments and the private industry, and clearly academia, right? So those are the stakeholders, the important stakeholders. And it's very similar to what the previous speaker was talking as to what they're trying to do in the Dominican Republic. And every time I hear that, I'm very happy because I'm a big advocate of pushing Latin America up, raising us up, you know, making sure that the world looks at Latin America as a strategic partner for many, many reasons. And one of the ways that we can achieve that is by making sure that we develop the workforce that multinationals are looking for in the world, right? So the Center of Excellence focuses on 5 different topics. One is the cloud, AI, cybersecurity, semiconductors, and 5G and 6G. And the goal is to develop courses, right? Certifications that can be taught virtually. You know, we'll have classes, but for Costa Rica, but also we're looking, as you said, at APEP. So it's 12 different countries in Latin America. And the goal is for us to make those courses available for the APEP countries. Costa Rica has the advantage of having in the country over 450 multinationals, a cluster of over 450 multinationals. And that is not a minor achievement. And what we need to do now is enhance those collaborations, public-private collaborations, make sure that we maximize the presence of those companies in Costa Rica. And I'll use the example of Microsoft. Microsoft has been here for many, many years. I'm not going to give the number because then Ineke will say that I was lying. But over a decade, if I'm not mistaken, right? And Microsoft is a leading company in the development of AI. And they have a very sophisticated operation in Costa Rica. So it would be foolish for us not to utilize 30 years. There you go. Thank you, Ineke. So it would be foolish for us not to utilize Microsoft in Costa Rica. So we're doing the same with Intel, right? The semiconductors, Costa Rica became part of the Chips and Science Act, which is great news for Costa Rica, but it also brings a lot of responsibility for the country to then, you know, we were invited to the party. Also, we were given the ticket to race the marathon. Great news. Now we have to get ready for the marathon because that marathon comes with a number of requirements, obligations. So the Center of Excellence the idea was thought kind of along the Chips and Science Act news that we got. That's what semiconductors is one of the focuses that we are gearing, you know, efforts into. So I'll use the example of Intel. The National Learning Institute, which is a technical school, it's a government-sponsored school that is responsible for graduating most of our technical kids within the country. They sat down with Intel and they put together a course that includes 400 hours, that includes software development and manufacturing development or skill sets that is responding what Intel is telling us that the talent that they need, the talent that they're looking for worldwide. So that's an example as to what the Center of Excellence is all about. We're moving into AI, and we have a number of multinationals part of the Center of Excellence. And they're telling us not only what talent do they need, but what curricula can they provide to the Center of Excellence in response to this talent. So we're moving into AI, the cloud, cybersecurity, et cetera, et cetera. And again, the goal is not only for those courses to be available for Costa Rica, but for Latin America, right? We did the homework, let's share the knowledge. I fully agree with that. And then innovation. We have to make sure that we don't forget about innovation. One previous speaker was talking about the ecosystem. We cannot forget about SMEs because they have different needs, because they have different challenges. Talking about AI, we have to make sure that SMEs utilize AI because they will probably be one of the ones who see the most of the benefit, right? So we have also put out courses that focuses on that. How can we help SMEs utilize AI for their operations?
That's great. I'm going to go a little off script and ask you something, but I know you can handle it. How do you think that AI and INA and the centers of excellence can help democratize training and education. And how can we, and you just said, you know, you want to share, and I'm also a big believer that there's, the pie is big here. Costa Rica is not going to keep the pie. Dominican Republic's not going to keep the pie. Let's divide it up. So what do we say to people who are outside of the greater metropolitan areas? How are we going to get to them?
Well, again, I think this is where technology comes into play and to help us governments. And that's why a lot of these courses, we're making them available in a virtual mode, right? For people to go and connect. Then you say, well, we have to make sure the connectivity is available in Costa Rica's territory, right? But that will bring us into a different topic. But definitely, and INA or the Center of Excellence is just an example. I think that, as we were saying, and as I was saying, I'm a big advocate of Latin America. And as you said, the pie is too big. We don't have to be selfish. There's going to be a piece for everyone, right? Luckily, there will be a piece for everyone. So we have to make sure that I'm a strong believer in sharing knowledge. So again, everything that we're doing with the Center of Excellence, we're doing it for certainly for the benefit of Costa Rica, but with the vision of sharing that with other Latin American countries. Best practices, things that you have to, right now we're looking at, as you said, what's the basis that they have to work on? Connectivity is one, having a platform to make these courses available, you know, communication, promotion of those courses. What, for example, when we think about AI, do kids know about Python? Because that's kind of the way for them to get to AI. Do they know about programming? You know, so those are some of the analysis that we're doing right now. And again, we put together, we did something similar with cybersecurity a number of years ago. And the results were very, very interesting because the third province that had the most registrants to cybersecurity was not a province that it's located in the Central Valley. It was a location that it's a city that's bordering Nicaragua. So that really opened our eyes and said, the drive of knowledge is everywhere. It will be foolish for us to think that it's only within the great metro area because that's where most of the Costa Ricans live and most of the multinationals are located and the academia. No, this gives us a great opportunity to spread the knowledge all over the country, right? And for those, we talk about the two Costa Ricans, the rich and the poor. We're trying to, within this administration, to stop that, to work on leveling the opportunities for all. And certainly, this is an example. This is something and that was the reason why we thought of INA. INA has 60 locations nationwide. They give us the opportunity, the option for those courses, those classes to become available nationwide, not only virtually, but if we're talking about something that needs to be taught that in a classroom, we currently have 60 facilities that we can utilize to make sure that that the courses become available to everyone.
Great. And I think we have time for one more question before we open it up to the audience. And so is there a message that you would like to convey on behalf of the Costa Rican government or your ministry to industry, to education, to citizens, and to, you know, people around the region?
So that's a very deep question. But I would say, this is the first time that humans are going or will engage with a technology that sooner rather than later, it will reach our levels of intelligence. And that's, in my case, it scares me a little, right? Because then you say, and what's next? What comes after that? It's not that we can put a stop to that. We put a stop to us humans some way, right? We don't have the capability of analyzing data in the speed of that AI does. So that's a reality. That's the base that we should be looking at. And taking that base into consideration, then what do we need to do? Governments, what do we need to do to prepare to that? And I would say here, it's not mandatory, but it is extremely important that governments sit down and have these discussions. how can we make sure that AI is contained when talking about military usage? Mind you, I come from a country that doesn't have an army and hasn't had one since 1948. So for us, we are banning nationwide the usage of AI for any military purposes. Software that will be eventually used for that, hardware that will be eventually used for that, right? So we need to sit down as governments and have those discussions. What's going to happen? How is AI development going? What risks are they seeing? Private industries, right? How can we make sure that we do a smart usage or implementation of AI within the government, within the private industry? How can we utilize them best way, best practices, etc.? But these conversations need to be handled not only amongst the most powerful economies, which they are already doing. There's their reality and there's our reality, right? And that's where I am very, vocal. For example, at the OECD, Costa Rica now has the opportunity of having those discussions with some of the strongest economies in the world. And we have to raise our hand and say, guys, that what you're saying is a reality for your strong economy, but it's not the reality for mine, right? And again, I think that those are the discussions we need to have. From a citizen point of view, it's scary. It scares me, right? It scares me to think that someone can use my face and convey a message or say something that goes against my beliefs. So again, we have to be honest with AI. We have to not only recognize the benefits, but we also have to recognize the challenges and pay attention to those. And again, as a community, and I'm going to say, when I say community, I'm talking about the whole world, the whole planet. As a community, how are we going to tackle this technology, this development? Because, again, it could bring a lot of benefit in health, in education, in productivity, but it's also bringing along a number of challenges that the uncomfortable question needs to be asked, and we need to find responsible and honest solutions to those.
Thanks so much for your thoughtful answers. Really interesting to hear from you, and for this nice long period of time where we could really dig into some of these things. I think that that Randy will take it from here to field questions.
Thank you so much, Ministra and Ellen, for an absolutely fascinating conversation. We go away inspired, and I always like to share something that I learned from a book, which is that doubt as a philosophy of life is like immobility as a means of transportation. And whenever I'm afraid of doing something, I think of that and I jump. And so we will now open the floor for questions and comments from the audience. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand virtually, turn on your camera, and unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Paula, Ellen, and the group who spoke earlier. My question is, in light of the recent reports, this came out yesterday in Cereoy, public universities say that they're facing significant challenges with students arriving with serious academic gaps. How do you think that AI can be leveraged in the educational setting to address these deficiencies? And then if you can talk about it, what are the potential risks of relying too heavily on AI? For example, their deficiencies were in mathematics, science, speaking, listening, and writing. How can we leverage the AI tools that we're working with now to approach this problem and make sure that it's balanced so that we can simultaneously get that AI knowledge in our students, but fix the deficiencies?
Thank you, Eric. I think that question is for me, right?
Yeah, it
Yes.
could be if whoever is available, Ellen, you, Paula, John.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a short answer and let some of the other speakers also, answer if they want. I'll tell you. So one of the things that the report said, and I agree with what the universities are saying, they're getting students not at the level they wish, or at the level they should be. That report also indicated that one of the biggest challenges are teachers. How can we make sure that teachers move faster than students, right? So they can then pass along the message, teach students how to be at that level that universities require. So Ellen and I were saying that, how can we then use AI to help teachers get to that level, right? Or I'll use English. English is a huge challenge for Costa Rica, and I think I'm talking on behalf of all Latin American countries, right? So in order for us governments to make sure that we have those percentages of English-speaking students in Costa Rica, we first have to look at the over 1,000 teachers that we have. I think it reaches 2,000 teachers that we have within the public system, the Ministry of Education, and start running tests, trying to evaluate what's the level of English. And I'm telling you, it's not optimal, right? And then make sure that they get to that optimal level. That will take us months. We have to do that. But in parallel, let's use technology. Let's use AI solutions that already cover some of those gaps. So again, that's the, I hope I sort of answer your question, but certainly that's one of the benefits. As I said, education is one of the industries that will benefit the most from AI.
We have time for another question. Who would like to ask another question?
I had a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
Going on that note that you just said that education is going to be at the forefront of using AI, what skills do you think educators are going to need to develop in order to effectively use AI as a tool within classrooms?
Who's that question for? The ministra?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Ministra, sí.
Okay. And I would like also Ellen to answer that because she's from the academia. So I would like to hear her point of view. So what skills? Teachers need to feel comfortable working with the technology. They need to, as I said, AI is going to, well, let's say an AI solution will bring answer to a lot of those gaps, as I said, using the English example. So we have to make sure that they see it as an assistant, as a smart assistant, for example, not only to convey the message to students or to make sure that students go up to those levels, but also for them, for their own benefit. They have to stop looking at AI as a threat and realize that it could actually become a complement and make them look stronger, when doing their tasks. And this is good for teachers, but it's good for everybody, all of us that will be interacting with AI. So AI is going to be more efficient than humans in a number of tasks. So let's identify those and let's us humans move up to those levels that AI is not there yet. And let's both complement each other.
And the other thing that I would say is that teachers in the region, and I've lived here for 23 years, so I say it as somebody who, lives, works, and is part of the ecosystem here. I think that some very basic skills are needed, and there is training that is needed just even in basic technology. And until we can address that amongst instructors, it's going to be very hard for people to move to the next level and really embrace AI, because at this point, just increasing, I think, general technology literacy amongst instructors is a huge issue that we have. And then also being able to use AI for training purposes. So I think that that's a really good bet for us in the future to be able to use some kind of adaptive model of training with AI. But again, you have to, the receptor has to be able to be skilled enough to be able to take advantage of that training. And I guess, and then I just want to kick this because I'm interested to hear what Jean has to say, because he's working in Honduras and Dominican Republic and creating these ecosystems. So I'd love to hear about the barriers you've seen or the opportunities that you've seen in this area.
Yes, so we are working to precisely with docentes, with teachers on this area, and we have found obviously how students are much more well equipped to use AI than teachers. That's probably generational issue across the board, not only in education. So we are actually developing a AI platform for teachers to use. And what we've noticed is that, so we're collecting data from, we're doing like a diplomado, like a certification for teachers to learn to use AI in the classroom. And we are learning that what teachers actually need the most, because AI has a whole tool set for that can be applied, but that they need it more for the basic stuff. So for example, a lot of teachers still put the grades in pen and paper. They have to calculate the cuatrimestre, the quarter, manually, instead of like how much a student has. For example, one tool that I've noticed that teachers love is generative PowerPoints. Like you just prompt and like you save hours of time for like preparing the curriculum. And there's then like the classic language models, how they can generate quizzes for the students. You just put the class and generate 20 questions, like saving a lot of time. So like what we've learned, our main takeaway is that more for the basics, because we can talk about like personalized tutors that that AI can go with each and personalize the content for each student, but really the most value that we can create is go for the basic. Like what do teachers do? They prepare class. Okay, so what do they do to prepare class? They make a presentation. Okay, so tools for making presentations, tools for creating quizzes, exams, for transcribing the classes if it's online classes, making summaries. Those tools that a lot of people in my generation use it every day. For any meeting that we go, we get a summary made with AI. But for like education system in Latin America in general, those tools are almost never seen in class. So focusing on those tools, like really create value like from the start.
Technology is going to make us more efficient. I'll use the example of the healthcare industry. There's a study that shows that 30% of the time that doctors spend in hospital is focused on administrative tasks. So imagine if we were to use AI to handle those administrative tasks and free that 30% of time to doctors to handle what they went to school for, which is handling patients. So that's an example within the healthcare industry that can be applied to every single industry.
With that, our time has come to an end. Ministra, un millón de gracias. This has been so valuable to all of us. Thank you for spending so much of your valuable time with us. Jean, thank you for giving us your perspective from the Dominican Republic. Thanks to all of our participants, and a virtual round of applause to Ellen, John Keith, and Portafolio Inmobiliario for sponsoring this program and bringing us all together. As you all know, this program has been recorded. We are going to send it to all of you and post it on our website because it's worth listening to several times to really absorb all the valuable knowledge and information. And John, I turn this over to you for the last comments.
Yeah, Randy, thank you. From listening to everything that is going on around the region, I have one suggestion for the council. We need to put in the agenda as item number 1, understanding the public policy changes to start solving the K-12 education in this time in the years to come. I see a lot of effort in Costa Rica, I hear from Dominican Republic, from Honduras, but if we can put all that together and sum it up and share it with the rest of Latin America, I think the best of all the efforts that I've heard today can be achieved. So thank you very much for participating, and count on TTU and Portafolio for this task. Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day. 1,000,000 de gracias. Hemos aprendido un montón y vamos a seguir aprendiendo, and we'll work on your recommendation, John. Thank you.